Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. And what is the greatest film trilogy of all time? Is it the original trilogy for Star Wars? I could see you putting that up there on the list. What about the Lord of the Rings trilogy? I mean, all those films are pretty much perfect. The Two Towers is a little lower on my list than Fellowship and Return of the King. But still, they're all three fantastic. If you said those were the greatest, I wouldn't judge you. But what about Indiana Jones? Now, I know, I said trilogy. There's technically a fourth one, but I won't count Crystal Skull if you don't count Rings of Power as being something Lord of the Rings related. So, that's where I would pick. I genuinely believe that the Indiana Jones trilogy is the greatest trilogy of films ever made. I love Star Wars, you know I'm a Star Wars guy, but there's just something about Indy that keeps me coming back. So, now that we know Indy 5, the Dial of Destiny is on its way, there's an interesting little article that I'd like to share with you guys. Now note, just like with all the articles I go over, I haven't read this yet. I'm only going in with presuppositions based on the headline. But I don't like to just follow headlines, I like to actually read the news, whether it be political or just pop culture related. And I want to go through it with you guys because Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny director on the tone of Indy's final adventure. Well, I can tell you what I think the tone is going to be. An absolute feminist fest that's going to once again deconstruct a character that we've all known and loved growing up, full of pandering with our hero being told over and over that he is wrong and that he needs to get with the time so that the hip young new female sidekick can take over and usurp Indy on his own adventure, making him what we all have considered him to be since Crystal Skull, a relic of the past. Not a lot is known about the upcoming fifth entry in the Indiana Jones franchise. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, however, according to director James Mangold, the film won't be a dour, overly serious film. Well, then he already missed the point. Now, Indy was never dour, but it always took itself seriously. That was kind of the point of those pulp adventure films. Did it have moments of fun and levity? Of course, but it took itself seriously. Now, James Mangold is a great director. He did what I think is the only truly Oscar-worthy superhero movie, Logan. He also did the exceptional Ford vs. Ferrari, which is just a brilliantly shot movie, even if you're not interested in cars like me. It was gripping, it was awesome. I'm pretty sure he also did Walk the Line, which I'm not a fan of, but I hate Johnny Cash. I know I'm going to lose some subscribers over that, but I'm not a Johnny Cash fan. But I can still admit it's a well-made movie, and I think the casting was brilliant. So, that being said, I do know James Mangold can do great work. But has he been hypnotized and caught up in all this Hollywood wokeism to the point where it's going to ruin the final entry in Indiana Jones? Yeah, I think there's truly risk of that. Let's continue. I'll highlight this so you guys can see because they use just an awful color palette. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly recently, Mangold spoke out about his previous films, including 2017's Logan. In comparing the films, both of which feature an older version of a legendary character, Mangold says that Logan was very purposefully and intentionally grim adventure, very dramatic and very serious, but the upcoming Indiana Jones film would be nothing like that. I mean, yes, I don't want Indiana Jones to be treated like Logan. They are very different films, and most importantly, very different characters. But considering modern Hollywood, I have no doubt they're going to swing too far in the opposite direction. I mean, think of the humor that we got out of the most recent Star Wars films, and then remember, this is still Disney Lucasfilm, and this is still a Kathleen Kennedy production. So, yeah, while I don't want something as dark and grim as Logan for Indy, that doesn't exactly give me hope. Now, I'm under no illusions that my job making an Indiana Jones film was to suddenly beat the humor out of it and turn it into some kind of dirge, Mangold said. I think that what we're trying to do is balance both an accurate and realistic appraisal of where this character would be at this time in his life. Well, it probably wouldn't be playing second fiddle to a feminist, considering the era that he grew up in. He'd find all this love and culture and hippy-dippy 60s stuff probably a nuisance. Didn't he even say in the previous film, I like Ike, Eisenhower? So, yeah, but we'll continue. And do that honestly, and at the same time, try and carry forward what the very title of our movie promises, which is a romp and wonderful adventure with action and chivalry and escapes by the skin of your nose. Weird that he didn't say skin of your teeth, but okay. And ingenious solutions to diabolical problems. This is an Indiana Jones film. See, I want to believe that. I do. But Harrison Ford's almost 80, and the previous Indiana Jones film was barely an Indiana Jones film. Like, I'm sorry, from the trailer alone, the de-aging technology was garbage, and the jokes looked abysmal. It also was just full of CGI, and sorry, for me, an Indiana Jones film is all practical, baby. So, yeah, James Mangold, you're a great director. I don't think you're up to this task. I don't think anybody would be. Even Spielberg couldn't get it right the last time he attempted. Only time will tell, I guess. I mean, time will tell for you guys to tell me, because I'm not paying money for this garbage. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny will once again be led by Harrison Ford as he reprises one of his most iconic roles as the titular explorer. Most iconic. Not one of his most iconic. Most iconic. Joining him as the female lead is Emmy and Golden Globe winner Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yes, the voice of feminism. If you guys are unfamiliar, she was Lando's sex bot in Solo, a Star Wars story. So, you got that going for you. The final installment will also feature the introduction of other franchise newcomers, Antonio Banderas, Mads Mikkelsen, Thomas Kretschmann, Boyd Holbrook, and Shanette Renee Wilson. Now, I don't know the majority of those names, but Antonio Banderas and Mads Mikkelsen, they're great. They're not as great as Harrison Ford, but damn do they know what they're doing. So, I will say I have mild curiosity in what their characters will be and how they will be incorporated into an Indiana Jones story, because yeah, I can see Harrison playing off them very well, especially if they're both villain roles. I won't lie, I don't want to see Antonio Banderas as a good guy. If anything, kind of a roguish, in-the-middle type of individual, like an anti-hero version of Zorro. And Mads Mikkelsen, I mean, the dude's going to be a Nazi. Blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin, dude's going to be a Nazi. But I'm very excited to see the type of scary Nazi he will be. The long-awaited film is being directed by Oscar nominee James Mangold, Logan, the new screenplay he is co-writing with Jez and John Henry Butterworth, who collaborated on Ford v Ferrari. Mangold took over the director's chair after Spielberg exited his directorial duties for the film. Oh! So this started off as a Spielberg production. That bodes even worse, because let's take a look at Solo again. What happened when they fired Ron Howard and brought in what's-his-name? Or maybe Ron Howard came in second after they fired what's-his-name. I don't remember. Because who cares? It's Solo. No one liked that movie. It's arguably one of Star Wars' worst movies. The point is, when you already had someone in the director's chair, and then they leave and you come in to take over, now you're almost certainly going to have two clashing tones and visions. We saw this with AI, artificial intelligence, which started off as a Stanley Kubrick film, and then actually moved over to Spielberg. And Spielberg, being one of the best in the biz, couldn't even get it right because it's just not his style and very different. Now, AI Artificial Intelligence was almost a good movie, but there was clearly a clash of ideals and what makes a film and how you make a film that leaves it somewhat off-putting. I have no doubt this will happen here. I'm also curious as to why Spielberg left the role, considering I'd wager the Indiana Jones films are his most famous films. I mean, you can maybe say Schindler's List is just as popular, but I really don't think so. And don't get me wrong, the guy has a catalog behind him, but Indiana Jones is pretty much going to be what you think of when you hear Spielberg, or maybe Jaws. When you hear Spielberg, you think Jaws and Indy, and then you think of everything else. Why did he leave? Did even he realize, oh no, woke Disney, this ain't gonna work. Even for me, Spielberg, who has gotten insanely woke over the last several years. This ain't my indie, I'm bowing out. But Disney, of course, wanting to squeeze every dollar out of every franchise they can, is going to continue with the film, and so they bring in somebody else who is now at an unfair advantage because they didn't even get to start on the film from scratch. There is so much more going against this film besides just the woke stuff that I'm just now learning because of this article. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny will also be produced by Kathleen Kennedy. Yay! Frank Marshall and Simon Emanuel, with John Williams returning to score the film. It is set to be released in theaters on June 30th, 2023. If the rumors are true, John Williams was talking about a reshot ending because nobody apparently liked the ending in the test screenings. And I know James Mangold came out and said there haven't even been any test screenings. There was a lot of reports saying there were. James Mangold's the only one saying there isn't, and probably other people who work on the film as well. So at this point it comes down to who do you believe? Possible Hollywood insiders, or the actual individuals working on the film. I'm actually more inclined to believe the insiders, not the people working on the film. Because the people working on the film, of course, will do and say anything to make sure press stays good, even if it means lying. It's just kind of an unfortunate truth of anyone in power. Whether it be Hollywood, politics on the left and right, you want to tell people good things even if it's not true, because if the people turn against you, the money stops, because the people are the ones that pay. So I actually do believe the Hollywood insiders in this instance and the individuals on Twitter saying, no, there were test screenings and they flopped hard. I'm sorry. I want to believe what Mangold says and that there haven't been any. But what incentive does he have to tell the truth if there have been and they weren't good? Yeah, I guess he could come out and say, we've gotten the test screenings, they're not good, we're going to take this and fix it, we'll do it right. And maybe build up some goodwill. That's what the individuals with Sonic the Hedgehog did. But there also weren't even test screenings of that. They just redesigned an entire character based off of a trailer. So it's probably a whole lot harder to redo an entire film after bad test screenings than just to go in and redo a CGI character. But the fact still remains, honesty and understanding with your fan base can buy goodwill and give you a chance to fix your mistakes and still earn money, because people showed up in droves for Sonic purely wanting to support the fact that they were listened to, even if they didn't end up liking the film all that much, which most people did, but I'm sure there were those that didn't. No one can argue that Sonic objectively looked better, so maybe that's what should be done here if the rumors about test screenings are true. Maybe have a little bit of humble pie, and then go back to the drawing board and give the fans what they want, because we're the paying customers. I mean, I'm not the paying customer because I'm not going to pay for this, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, well, looks like that's the end of that article. Yeah, short and sweet, but man, this film is going to be a dumpster fire. Full of... Well, Phoebe Waller-Bridge alone is going to ruin this, because I'm sorry, she's an unfunny charisma vacuum. I can't even say she's unfunny. If you love feminist comedy, then yeah, you'll probably like her, because she's good at that. I mean, that's not saying a lot, but she's good at it. So if you're ever in the mood for an Indiana Jones film with feminist comedy, this might be up your alley. But nobody wants that from Indiana Jones. That's like asking for a G-rated Die Hard movie. There's no demand for it. So yeah, this movie's going to be trash, calling it now. And if I end up eating my words and it turns out by some miracle of the gods to actually be good, then even better, because I'd like to see Indy go out on a good note. Other than that, please like, comment, subscribe. I am really trying to grow this channel, so your subscription would mean the world to me. Tell me in the comments below if you hate or love Kathleen Kennedy and what you think of this movie. And please follow me on Twitter at BoltTheWord, because this has been Words of Paradise.